Welcome to Daytime Ottawa here on Rogers TV. Just want to start off with a little Ottawa 67s. My goodness, a heartbreaking loss there last night. Down 4-1 again in the third period. It looks like they were going to make one of those miraculous comebacks. Unfortunately, they fell short. They lost 5-4 to the Peterborough Petes, but a fantastic season. And hats off to our entire crew and all of our volunteers who put on the games, and that includes everyone, in front of the cameras, behind the cameras. What a great job everybody did. Another great season. And the good news is they return a young team next year. So we've got next year to look forward to. Also, talking about food waste on the show today. How about that for a segue, my friends? But it's a huge problem, not only in Canada and North America, it's a huge problem across the world. And my next guest and his team have found a great way to reduce food waste in your home and in businesses and in municipalities. I'm joined by Bradley Crepeau, the CEO of Food Cycle Science. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
What do you think about that intro, eh? Hockey to food waste. What a segue. I'm such a professional here, Bradley.
That's brilliant.
Let's talk about, you guys were established yourselves in 2011. What was the inspiration behind this?
Well, Food Cycle Science is a Canadian clean tech company. We're hyper-focused on trying to solve the world's food waste problem. We started a decade ago looking at large producers of food waste, hotels, hospitals, casinos that were generating hundreds or thousands of pounds of food waste, and we would provide decentralized solutions. So really putting devices like the one you see here in larger capacities on site to really look to reduce that food waste on site, taking it away from the haul or taking it away from the landfill. And the business evolved through those last 10 years, and we've been focusing on widening our range of solutions beyond just businesses and commercial establishments to make this technology and the solution available in your home and in your community.
Yeah, because I think as individuals, I find we're putting more and more pressure on ourselves. But I think food waste is one of the things that we've kind of forgotten about when it comes to numbers. Like, what sort of numbers are we talking about here in Canada?
Well, in Canada, we have about 63% of food waste ending up in landfill. The reality is that most of the food that's produced is still ending up in landfill, and the amount that is recycled is composted, and there are some traditional means of recycling that food waste. But to your point, I think the miss has been the convenience or the accessibility to a lot of these options. They're just not as widely available to homeowners as it should be. And with respect to that amount of food waste going to landfill, the majority of it is coming from our homes.
Right. And I told you about my frustrations at our cottage. Somebody gave us one of these big, black plastic composters, and to keep animals, and that includes my Jack Russell, out of that is such a difficult thing. And I imagine that you probably heard a lot of people saying that over the years.
We have, and it's not just Jack Russells, it's raccoons, it's rats, it's bears in some of these communities, so that you're not alone in that. And it extends beyond that with some of the other options, whether it's a backyard composter or a green bin. If you've gone into your garage on a hot summer day and been welcomed by a face full of maggots, that's an unpleasant experience that sometimes discourages people from continuing to recycle food waste. And we think if we can make it more convenient, if we can make it cleaner, if we can make it more fun, we think a lot more people would do it.
Right.
So our approach is really trying to consider that user experience and ask ourselves, is this something people will continue to do? Is it something they'll start and stop doing? And if we can make that process more accessible and more available to more people, we think we can divert a lot more food waste from landfill.
Thanks for that maggot image there, Bradley. I know, but everybody knows what you're talking about right away.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does this technology work then?
So we use a lot of the same principles that Mother Nature uses. So when you talk about your backyard composter, that's really been the inspiration for what we're doing here today. We introduce heat, we introduce air, we introduce agitation, the same way you would with a backyard compost pile, where you have to take the food waste, you put it in a pile, it generates heat, you turn it, and that over time will break down.
Right.
And that's a really great way to do it if that's for you.
Absolutely.
But if you don't have a backyard, if you live in a condo, if perhaps your lifestyle doesn't allow for you to do that process over a number of months, we've allowed you to do that in a number of hours. So we take that same principle of heat, air, and agitation, we put it in vessel, we accelerate it, and we're able to take that same end result of a reduction by up to 90% and having a nice soil amendment at the end of it. We do that in a matter of hours.
Really?
So when you start this and you load it with as much in our new device as 5 liters of food waste, and by the way, we can handle meat, bones, pits, shells, a lot of things that wouldn't be in your backyard composter can go in here. You push start, around the same time you would start your dishwasher. And overnight, you'll see a breakdown, like I said, of up to 90%. And you can take that and mix it into your garden the next day.
And so you've got some food waste that you've brought along with you here today. I've even noticed you've got like a paper towel in here.
Yeah, I'm glad you noticed that, because we have that, right? We have tea bags, we have coffee filters, we have paper towel. That can all go in there as well.
I wouldn't have guessed, because you imagine most people would throw that in the garbage and then keep the rest of this separate. So that's nice to hear. Well, so what would we do? Just dump this in there?
Yeah, you would load this food waste into the bucket.
Okay.
And you can accumulate this over the course of the day. And what's great about this new design is that this doesn't have to sit in your countertop. We realize that people have different sizes of kitchens. Some don't like these appliances on their countertop. So we see a lot of these operating in the garage. And this removable bucket has a carbon lid, a carbon filter built into the lid. So over the course of the day, you can accumulate those food scraps. When it's full, you take this bucket to wherever it's plugged in.
Right.
You'll load this into the machine. You'll close that, and you'll press start. That's it.
And there's like hardly any sound.
It's very quiet.
Yeah.
It's entirely odorless.
Because I was thinking like it would grind or something. So there's no grinding happening whatsoever in this process.
There is actually,
Okay,
it's a slower. So don't think of it like a blender, right? We're not quickly turning those blades. It's more like a churn process, and the breakdown is actually happening more so through the introduction of that heat and that air. And it's more of a turning process that's actually achieving the majority of the breakdown of that food waste.
So I can see the individual, use of this when it comes to businesses. I mean, would businesses be using the same thing?
Well, we sure hope so, because the reality is food waste is everywhere. You know, it's in our home, it's in our businesses, it's in our offices, it's in our community. And again, we have to be able to offer solutions to everyone, not just one particular segment in the market. So we do have kind of tailor-made solutions for your office or your community more specifically. And I think that's been one of our most notable achievements in this past year, is now able to say that we have 80 communities, 80 municipalities across Canada that are using a food cycler system as an alternative to maybe what we have here in Ottawa as a green bin system.
Really?
And what we've found is that green bins can be really effective in more populated cities where there's more dense geography.
Right.
But when you get into those more rural or remote or northern communities, sometimes the economies of scale aren't there for those communities, and they still have a desire to be recycling food waste, because that's going to the landfill. So a more decentralized approach like our food cycler program is getting a lot of traction in those communities.
I think it's such a great idea. And I think you and I have talked before, so this is your latest model. You do have previous generation models still available, is that right?
Yeah, we're trying to listen to our customers in terms of what their needs are, what their limitations are. And our Gen 1 model is a really effective unit for maybe a smaller family, not generating as much food waste.
I see.
What we heard from our customers was, geez, I wish there was more capacity. And this new Eco 5 version has double the capacity. So you can fit 5 liters of food waste, which is the largest bucket size on the market, and you can process it in about the same amount of time. So depending on whether or not you're maybe a single the person living in a condo or an apartment, maybe the FC50 model is better. And if you're a larger family, this would certainly be the device for you.
Bradley, it's really brilliant science. Again, foodcyclescience.com to find out more information. We'll be right back after this.